Do you remember the game we played as kids? It was called telephone. You'd all sit around in a circle. Some would whisper a story or a sentence to their neighbor next to them. And that person would then whisper it to their neighbor. It would go all around the circle until it came back to the originator of the story. And then they would say the story out loud and then share the original story. Most of the time, the final product didn't come close to matching the original. It was an illustration of how we could easily get derailed. I believe we're on the right track. We're moving forward to all God has for us. We're becoming people of hope in a place of hope. We're striving to embody the values of being loving, community, teamwork, spirit empowerment, outward focus, and investing in the next generation. So what can we do to stay on the right track? What can we do to make sure we match the original? I want to stay on the right track and heading in the right direction. So how do we do that? In this series, we're looking at 4 things to keep us moving and on the right track. In our first week, we said that we must be hope-driven. We must be driven by hope, with hope, and for hope. In week 2, we talked about our personal motivation. What happens in our personal lives affects our home, which affects the church, which we pray will impact the world around us. Being hope-driven and personally motivated are what propel us in the right direction. Today we're going to look at the original church to see what sort of guardrail we need to put up to keep us on the right track.
You know, it's always good to go back and look at the original, right? It's always good to go back and look at the original plan. So like the telephone game, what can happen is we can tend to veer off course a little bit. And so to stay on the right track, what we need to do is we need to be, you can write that down this morning, family-oriented. Family-oriented. When you think of the word family, what I think of are really different age groups. You have different age groups, moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas, aunts and uncles, the kids, all coming together. That's kind of what a typical family would look like. It's kind of what a typical church family looks like as well, right? But this is more than just a look. It's a feeling. When I talk about being family-oriented, it's more than a look. It's really a feeling. I want to be a place, let's say this. I've been to places where there's different age groups, but it doesn't feel like family. I've been to places where you don't have that warm home family feeling. I mean, how many of you have been at Christmas sometimes and you walk in the room and you wish you could walk back out? You know what I'm talking about. You don't have that warm. Not everybody has that warm family feeling that is created. Now, I understand because of that, some of you may have a negative connotation when we say the word family. You may have come from a very dysfunctional family. Perhaps you even came from a dysfunctional church as well. And so when we say something about the church being a family, you don't really have a positive outlook on that. And so what I want you to understand that being a part of a true family, a true church family, is something that is so amazing and incredible. So it's truly helps us to understand what a church family should look like. We have to go back and look at the original. So let's look at Acts 2:42. It says, all the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to sharing in meals, including the Lord's Supper, and to prayer. A deep sense of awe came over them all, and the apostles performed many miraculous signs and wonders. And all the believers met together in one place and shared everything they had. They sold their property and possessions and shared the money with those in need. They worshiped together at the temple each day, and they met in homes for the Lord's Supper and shared their meals with great joy and generosity, all the while praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all the people. And each day the Lord added to their fellowship those who were being saved. So if you've been around Hope Family Fellowship for very long, some of you are saying, Pastor, you preached on this passage before. And the answer to that question is yes, absolutely, multiple times. And guess what? I'm going to preach on it multiple times again. Why? Because it's always helpful to go back and look at the original. But I want to look at it from a slightly different angle today than I've ever looked at it before. We see several characteristics then in this passage of what a family-oriented church would look like. Look at this morning. Number one, family-oriented churches grow together. Grow together. Verse 42, all the believers devoted themselves to the apostle teaching. So we look at the original church. The very first thing it says is they were committed to an atmosphere of growth. They were committed to growing together. When you have a family, what's pretty cool about family reunions is to see how the kids have grown from one year to the next. Like you haven't seen this third cousin that's from like the southeast corner of Missouri, that's got like, back in the backwoods, they don't even have internet, but all of a sudden they can show up to a family reunion and they're like 2 feet taller than they were a year ago, and they have 6 different shoe sizes from when they were here a year ago. It's cool to see how the families kind of grow together. What's neat in my family in particular, I've got a cousin that's now a second cousin that is now pregnant, but when with their own child. But when she was a baby, we would sit there and I would make faces at her, and she would make the same faces back. If I touched she would mimic what I was doing. And now I've been able to watch her grow. What's cool as a church family is that we can actually not watch each other just grow physically, we can actually watch each other grow spiritually. And we can see that this person wasn't the same that they were before, because why? They all devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching. They were persistent about their growth. They kept on growing. They did it together. And that's what I love about coming together. See, Wednesday nights are our time where we really focus in on growth, where we come in and we tackle different topics, and we have people that facilitate watching videos. Sometimes we have upfront teaching and different things, but we're growing together. I love how we're growing together. Our leaders are growing together in our leadership roundtable. I came home yesterday from the Encounter God and had I had 3 boxes of this next month's books on my front porch. Why? Because I love watching people grow. I love to see them grow into the people that God is intending them to be. I love that about our community groups. Yes, they're for connectivity, but they are also to see us growing together as iron sharpens iron. 1 Peter 2:2 says, like newborn babes, you must crave pure spiritual milk so that you will, say it with me, grow into a full experience of salvation. Cry out for this nourishment now that you have had a taste of the Lord's kindness. So for us to continue to stay on the right track, what we have to do is we have to grow together. Number 2, family-oriented churches connect with one another. Look at verse 42. And it says, and to fellowship, and to sharing in meals, including the Lord's Supper. So the early church connected with one another. They hung out together. My hope as a church, as Hope Family Fellowship, is that we're not just ships passing in the night. We come in on Sunday, then we go out, we're just ships passing in the night. I want to see us have true biblical community, to where we're together. We're more than just a church family that meets on Sundays, but we're people, and I know that some of you were able to do this, that all of a sudden you've got a need, that you're able to pick up the phone and call somebody, text somebody, and that there's that sense of community. But we need to have that connection, that we're truly the body of Christ. My hope is that we have a true connection, that we enjoy getting together for meals. I want Sunday then, to what happens on Sunday, for it to be like one big family reunion. I love that that's what we experience. When you're walking in this morning, I had people come in and give me hugs, shake my hand, but they weren't just doing that to me. That's because how you're supposed to. I'm the pastor. But they were doing that to each other. They were saying, oh, how was your week? What happened this week? Oh, tell me about the weekend. Tell me about this. And they were hugging one another, and they were talking with one another. They were sharing prayer. I heard it this morning as I walked through the hall today and seeing the looks on your faces. I love that about this church. Ecclesiastes says, chapter 4, verse 9, 2 are better than 1, right? We can agree with that, because they have a good return for their work. If one falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. Also, if 2 lie together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. So God wants us to be a cord of 3 strands. He wants us to have community together, that we connect with one another. Number 3 this morning, family-oriented churches pray together. Look at this. It says, all the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to fellowship, to sharing in meals, and to prayer. Let me ask this question this morning. Who do you turn to when you have a need? Who do you turn to when you have a need and you need somebody to agree with you in prayer? Who do you turn to? This is me up point. In my life, I turn to those who are closest to me. It's natural for us to share our needs with close friends and family. But what about our church family? See, in the modern day church, what we've done is we bought into the lie that we've got to have it all together. We have. Okay, I'm gonna be real. So people came down this morning and they were real. They were real. They were real in their things, and I'm not going to tell you what they shared because that's between me and the Lord. But they were real, and I appreciated their openness. But what I know is there were more people in here that were struggling, but they didn't want to walk out because they were afraid of what people would say. That's what I miss about youth ministry. Because I would have given that same altar call in my youth ministry, and 90% of the people would respond. Y'all love me? Everybody love me? Sue, y'all love me on the back row over there? Okay. Kathy, y'all love me back there too? Okay. I'm just being real. That's one thing I miss about youth ministry, because their hearts are tender. And I'm going to tell you, if I would have given that same altar call in kids ministry, 100% of them would have responded. Why is it? Because what happens over the course of time is we think that we've grown and matured and we have to have it all together. But did you hear what I said? I said, I have changed, people. And I know that if the pastors got changed, then all God's people's got changed. Because there's things in my life that the enemy wants to wrap his little chain around and pull me back down into bondage. And I've got to get rid of that. I'm telling you, every time I go to encounter, I deal with something. I deal with something. Why? Because the Lord's constantly revealing to me, Rusty, you've got this issue in your life. So all God's children's got issues. All right? Everybody say, I got issues. And if you didn't say that, you're lying. You got an issue because you got pride in your heart. There you go. Y'all love me, right? We are human beings with real flaws, real issues. We all have issues. Now, some of them are self-made based on the choices we made, but other things are just things that happen to us, like financial burdens unexpectedly and company downsizing and unexpected health issues. You were not meant to carry that junk alone. You were not. You were not meant to. I'm not meant to carry it alone. This morning, man, I feel like junk today. 72 hours straight. And I'm on day 21 of a fast, y'all, a Daniel fast. I don't have the energy. I said, I should have given me an orange juice this morning. I just don't have the energy that I had. I sent the text to my 4 friends that I'm on the text groups with, they're pastors, and I said, guys, I need you to pray for me this morning. I'm spiritually, emotionally, physically exhausted, and I know I've got to go preach today. Why? We need that. I felt the prayers of our team this morning as they called my name out in prayer today, lifted them up. I could feel their prayers today, encouraging me, like Aaron and her holding up my hands. But we need each other. We're not meant to carry our burdens alone. 1 Timothy 2:1 says, I urge you, first of all, to pray for all people. Ask God to help them, intercede on their behalf, and give thanks for them. Number 4. Faith-oriented church, family-oriented churches believe together. Look at verse 43. I love this. It says, a deep sense of awe came over them all. A deep sense of awe. And the apostles performed many miraculous signs and wonders. One of my heart's cries is that we see what happened this morning happen at Hope Family Fellowship. That was, I don't know if you're new to a Spirit-filled, empowered church, that was an authentic move of the Holy Spirit this morning. That was not planned. In fact, it was we. Can I just let you in on behind the scenes? We changed the song list 3 times today. Three times basically. We had a list. We practiced the list. I left. I went and sat in my office and had some things I need to do. I left. I come back, and she says, "Hey, can we do?" I feel like the Lord's saying we need to do this song. I said, "Hey, I trust you. You're a worshiper." So she changed the list. We go in prayer, and she said, "I missed it. We were supposed to change it to this." So we changed it to what you heard today. Did you know the third song? We never practiced as a whole band together. Holy Ground. We just got up here and did it this morning. Why? Because we felt like that was what the Lord wanted us to do. And what happened is chains were broken. That's what I want to see happen. We believe together. We believe for the supernatural. We come with an expectant heart. We come wanting God to do some amazing things. As I stood there Thursday night on a microphone, very first song we sang, Lifting It Up, people were automatically engaged at that retreat. I mean, we were blown away. It's the first time we'd ever had that at Encounter God. It's my second one to lead worship at, my fourth one to be on as a part of either a tender or a leader. And we've never had it where from the very first note, people were like, boom, they were engaged. They were all in. But what it was is they all came with an expectant heart. They came ready. And God wants us to come ready. When we come together on Sunday morning, that, listen, I know there's sometimes you don't feel like being there. You're tired. You're just going out of obligation or out of duty. But somehow between the time you get out of your car till you make it in the parking lot, you need to change something in your mind and your thinking to say, today I'm here to meet with Jesus. Today I'm here to worship with my family. Today I'm here to lift up his name and give him praise and glory, because I hunger for a true move of God. I want to see people healed. I want to see lives changed. I want to see people delivered. I want to see them set free. I want to see the gifts of the Spirit in operation. I want to be a Spirit-empowered church. Heading into the day of Pentecost, that's exactly what the early church did. They were all together. The Bible says they were in one accord. Acts 2:1 says when the day of Pentecost had fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. That word one accord is not a Honda. What it means is simply this. Because we ain't all fitting in one accord. I'm telling you, I'm a little bit bigger than that. You know, I got the front seat by myself. The rest of you 80 can have like the back seat. You know what I'm saying? I'm driving this car. You know, there ain't nobody in my lap. I'm talking about that. We're not fitting there. But what it means is this. Because some of y'all got a mental picture on that. Enjoy that for your Sunday afternoon nap. What it means is this, is that we're all of one mind. Every single one of us, including me, we all come with one mind. We're ready to worship God. I've been reading this book. I'm getting on my notes. That's okay. I'm going to go over time anyway. I've been reading this book this last month. Really, it's been transformational in a lot of the ways I do things. But one of the things he talks about, and our leaders heard this he talks about managing your energy. And one of the things he talks about is managing your transitions. And what I mean by that is from a project, from one project to another, from leaving work to going home, from going home to leaving work. So I said this in our leaders, we have an update that goes out usually every Tuesday on a Facebook group, and so I sent this to them this week. But one of the things he talks about is managing those transitions. He says you have to release and set intention. What do I mean by that? You release everything. You get all the other stuff out of your mind, the fight you had with your wife, having to discipline your kids on the way to church, worried about having to pay the bills when you get home, having that roast that's in the something thing, and then you set your intention for what you're going to do. So when you walk in, you're saying, I'm walking in, I'm greeting people. I'm walking in here, I'm going to worship. I'm going to be a two-handed worshiper. I'm going to lift up those hands. I'm going to worship. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell Jesus how great he is. And you make your intention. And it works in the business world. Why can't that work in the church? because we need to clean all that and say, I'm coming to meet with Jesus. Man, I'm coming to have a meeting with the Most High God. I'm not just coming to hear pastor preach. I'm coming to meet with people. That's what it is. So come together. When we give you the prayer points, we're hoping that you will pray these things together so that we'll be one mind, one passion, one vision, one mission, one dream, praying these things together so that the supernatural can happen. We can experience all God has for us. Number 5, family-oriented churches provide together. Look at verse 44. And all the believers met together in one place and shared everything they had. They sold their property and possessions and shared the money with those in need. Now, I've never been a part of a local church body that truly did that. You know, some of you say, well, Pat, you know, I'm telling you what the original did. But here's how we do this in modern day. When you see someone who has a need, you spring into action. When you notice the need, act. If it's in your power to meet the need, then meet it. Right? If it's in your power to meet the need, meet it. If it's not, then come find somebody, and we'll do our best to meet the need. Because here's what I want you to understand. When someone needs a helping hand, we should help them out as a church. Listen, I get it. There's so much negative connotation in our day, in our society, about this. Because people have been taken advantage of. I'll never forget the day I walked back into Oak Cliff Assembly after I had been sent as an intern to go take a guy to the airport. Now you have to understand, Oak Cliff is not a great place. Anybody ever been to Oak Cliff? If you've been to or been through, because most people just go through, they don't go to. But I lived there. And we would have people come in, and so we had this guy come in, and he gave us a great story. He said he was Nicky Cruz's nephew or something, and that he just needed a plane ticket, and so our church had a connection with Nicky Cruz, so they were trying to call his office or whatever, but they went ahead and sent me to go take this guy. So I jumped in the car, drove him up to Greyhound, gave him bought his bus ticket like they told me to, given him whatever money they told me to give him, and then I came back to the church. Well, what I did is, because Mama didn't raise no dummy, you know what I'm saying? We're at Oak Cliff. I said, before I'm going to take you, sir, I said, I'm going to go down to my room real quick. So I went down to my room, and I got my friend Rob. Now, Rob's about 6'4". He's a probation officer now. He's got a goatee this long. But back then, Rob was 6'4", and he was staying with us, interning with us during the off season. He was a professional baseball player, 1A baseball player. And I'd known Rob for a long time. I said, Rob, I need you to come with me. Rob came with me, and so Rob, in all of his genius, put a knife up under the back of the seat. Because we didn't have guns, you know what I'm saying? Like nobody was carrying it back in those days, and so he put a knife up under the seat in case the guy got a little crazy. So I made Rob sit in the back, I drove, and the guy sat in the front. Well, he didn't do anything crazy, probably because Rob was in the back. I get him to the bill. He takes our money. He says, I'm going to go get my ticket. He never goes and gets his ticket. He goes to another church and does the same thing. Anyway, I come back to Oak Cliff Assembly. I walked in, and I was met by 2 pastors with frightened look on their face. And they said, what are you? They said, oh my gosh, Rusty, we can't believe, oh, you're back. And they're hugging me. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Get off of me. I'm perfectly fine. I mean, like, what's going on? They said, we called Nicky Cruz's office, and that dude was not legit. He's been doing this to churches all over, and we were so worried that something happened to him. You know, remember, we didn't have cell phones in those days. I just dated myself, but that's okay. And here's what I want to say about that. We're going to get taken advantage of. It's going to happen. People are going to come. People in the church might even take advantage of it. But there are going to be people who legitimately need a hand up, not a hand out. They need somebody to lift up their hand and say, you know what, I'm going to help you. That's why we're starting the resource room for Family First. I love that this church is great. In the next few weeks, we're going to be putting new floors at a single mom's house. Every time we do a camp or conference, I have people who volunteer and say, I will help send somebody. I can't go myself, but if there's somebody that needs money that can't attend, I know there's been times that some of you have felt the need to like give 20 or 40 or 50 or $100 to meet a need to somebody, and I find out about it later. It's already happened. As a family of God, that's what it should be. When we see a need, we take care of each other. Acts 4:32 says all the believers were in unity in mind and heart, and they felt that what they owned was not their own. I love that. So they shared everything they had. The apostles testified powerfully to the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, and God's great blessing was upon them all. There was no needy people among them, because those who owned land or houses would sell them and bring the money to the apostles to give to those in need. Number 6, family-oriented churches worship together. Look at verse 46. They worshiped together at the temple each day, met in homes for the Lord's Supper, and shared their meals with great joy and generosity, all the while doing what? Praising God. Praising God. As believers, man, when we come together, it needs to be a celebration of worship, where we give God praise and glory for another week. When I was growing up, we would call the early part of the service the song service. Anybody remember that? We would call it the song service. And somewhere in the 80s, what would happen is the culture shifted from songs to worship. The emphasis then being on worship. Now, I'm not saying that worship didn't take place when we would sing. When we would sing, we used to sing out of the book. Now we sing off the wall. Most of our singing is off the wall anyway. You know what I mean? The method doesn't matter. The method doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is our heart in line with God and worshiping Him and giving Him praise and giving Him glory. So over the years, what I've noticed is that some people have a tendency to downplay the significance of the early part of the service. Oh, come on, let's just get through this. This is just the prelude. This is just the prelude. Let me tell you, this is not the opening act. When they're up here singing on Sunday morning, these people right here, I watch them every week. They get here. I pulled in this morning. I unloaded my car, and when I pulled around, it was before 8 o'clock. Tisha is sitting outside in her car, already here, ready to get things ready. Ron shows up about 8 o'clock every Sunday morning. Then I can hear Garrett come in about 8:10. His truck come in about 8:10. Then Jen shows up, and then Carissa shows up, and by about 8:30, 8:35, we're all here. We begin to pray together, and then we worship together. Then we have prayer time together, and these people come up here and serve. They're not the prelude to the message. They're not the opening act. They are here to lead us into the very presence of Almighty God. It's why we are here. We're here just as much as we're here to hear my teaching, to hear the quote-unquote, if you will, the apostles' teaching here. What we're here to listen to, not only listen to, but to participate in, is the worship. We're here to lift Him up. We're here to give God praise. Listen, man, I could spend a whole message on this. I'm going to say it. I could spend a whole message on this, but I want to give this to you in a nutshell. I've heard people say this over the years. Say, Pastor, that song doesn't minister to me. Well, let me tell you, it's not for you. Everybody say it's not for me. It's for Jesus. That song just doesn't minister to me. But listen, there's been times we've had people that have said over the years, I'm talking over 20 years, I've been a worship leader for most of my life, youth pastor / worship leader. And 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 I've had people that would come up to me over the years, and they would say something about a song, and I've changed lyrics to songs. I've taken songs out because of different things for reasons. And so I understand there's legitimate reasons. But at the same time, there are people that says, well, that song doesn't do nothing for me, and it's saying, how great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? Well, that song is not supposed to do anything for you because it's talking about God, not about Rusty. It's not talking about anybody else. And so here's the thing. Now I have other people say, well, Pastor, why don't we sing more hymns? I'm going to give you a teaching this morning. I'm going to blow your mind. Because let me tell you, I've been thinking of this and processing it through. I love the hymns of the church. So let me preface that by saying, you know what I love too? I love the songs of the 80s. What a mighty God we serve. I mean, I remember, I remember singing those, the angels bow before him. Come on, somebody. I love those songs. Celebrate the early 90s. I love those. You know what I love? I love the late 90s in the songs. I want you to hear something. I want you to catch this today, because I think this will change the perspective. Every generation has a song. Now, I'm not talking about a song. I'm talking about a greater song. So in the 30s, when the songwriters were writing, you know what they were writing about? Heaven. Why? Because the 30s stunk. Have you ever heard of the thing called the Great Depression? Sandwiched in between two world wars. That's hard to say. And so every generation has a song. Every generation has a song. So all the songs were about heaven. I'll fly away, oh glory. Everybody will be happy over there. Just over in the glory land. Some glad morning we shall see Jesus in the air, coming after you and me. Joy is ours to share. What were they about? They were about heaven. Why? Because the earth stunk. It was awful. Then in the 80s, something shifted, and we began to have worship services. And what did we begin to sing? What a mighty God we serve. He is the King of kings. He is the Lord. Everything was about worshiping, and it was so vertical. It was so vertical. Then in the 90s, in the mid-90s, there was a push for revival. And so what happened? We started singing songs like We Will Ride, and There's a Wind to Blow and Coming Across This Land. Oh, sweet wind. And we began to, do you understand? They all had a common theme. They all had a common theme. And now, I'm going to blow you. I'm telling you, not because I'm anything, but because the Lord revealed this to me. I'm telling you. We have an issue in our country, in our society. People are struggling with something big time. They don't know if they're male or female. They don't know if they're homosexual, heterosexual. They don't even know if they're asexual or pansexual. I mean, they go bisexual. They have so many sexual things, they don't know what they are. They struggle with who they are. Do you understand that? Identity. Have you heard that word? Gender identity. Sexual orientation. I could go down the list this morning. But people are struggling with their identity. So as I begin to listen to the songs of this generation, you know what they're about? Identity. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. Sang one this weekend that says, I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. You've heard that on the radio. I am who you say I am. People are in bondage to chains, so we have chain breaker. You got chains, he's a chain breaker. We sang them this morning. Break every chain. We're on holy ground, but chains are broken. Hope needs to be restored. Lives trained. I'm telling you guys, do you see what I'm saying? Every generation has a song. Every generation has a cry of the heart. So when we come together, you know what it's about? It's about God using the music of this culture. Marilyn Manson, one of the most God-forsaken, demonic voices in rock music in the 90s and the 2000s, said this. He said this, music, I'm quoting, I got this from Focus on the Family too, so y'all don't judge me thinking I'm going to be watching Marilyn Manson. He said this, music is such a powerful medium today that if Hitler or Mussolini were alive today, they would have to be rock stars. So what happens is when we come together and we sing the song of the generation, chains are broken. People are all of a sudden realizing I'm not worthless. I am who God says I am. Because I believe that what happens is there's a song in every generation. It doesn't mean that we just erase everything that's happened in the past. No, we stand on the shoulders of the giants that have gone before us, but at the same time, we sit there and we listen and we absorb and we sing the words and we come together for a common purpose and a common dream and a common goal to lift up the name of Jesus. Psalm 150 is there. You understand this. It says, praise the Lord. Praise God in his sanctuary. Praise him in the mighty heavens. Praise him for his mighty works. Praise him for his equal greatness. We're to come together and praise the Lord. Number 7, we need to remember together. Met in homes for the Lord's Supper. They shared their meals with great joy and generosity. They experienced communion together. We did that this last Wednesday night. We came around the table, different groups as they prayed across. We prayed for one another. Man, it was powerful. Jesus gave his instructions to his disciples in Luke 29. He said he took some bread and gave thanks for it. He broke it in pieces, gave it to his disciples, says, this is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Church, we got to remember together. Number 8. I love this last one. They experienced the favor of God together. Man, when we do those things, guess what happens? We experience the favor of God. And it says in verse 47, all the while praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all the people. And then he says that and the Lord added to the fellowship those who were being saved. I want you to notice what happened. As they grew together, worshiped together, remembered together, believed together, prayed together, and more, God's favor was upon them. So what they did was they enjoyed the goodwill of the people. One translation says it like this: they enjoyed the favor of the people. I believe that when we come together, we can walk in the favor of God. Favor isn't fair. When you have the favor of God on your life, favor is not fair. This doesn't mean we don't experience hard times, but I believe we can walk in the favor of God. Luke 2:52. When I pray over my girls, last night when I kneeled beside Kenzie's bed and I sat there and I prayed with her, I prayed Luke 2:52 over her. It says, Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and all the people. I pray that over my family. I pray that over the kids. I pray that over this church, that we will grow in wisdom, stature, favor with God and with all people. Why? Because favor is not fair. Not only did they have the favor of the people, but they had the favor of God because people were being saved. Man, and that's what it's all about. I want people to be saved here. I want them to be set free. I want God to do something amazing in the hearts and the lives of all the people. I want to close with this story today. Wednesday night, we prayed, and there was about 30 of us here in the room. We had the prayer points under the first 3 lights there on that side and on this side. We had about the last half of the chairs were stacked up, so we had plenty of room to pray. And then we set up here in the middle a table with communion on it, and people, different groups, would rotate around to the different areas, and we shared communion. Powerful time. Powerful time. We prayed, and at the end, I'm getting ready to close out the prayer, and I sense the Lord saying this to me. There's somebody in here who has a word for the church. I said, Lord, okay. And I could not. It's one of those moments. If you've ever been on a microphone, you cannot close. You cannot do it. You have to be obedient. So I said to the group, some of you were there. I said, "Is there someone in this room that I feel someone in this room has a word for us that the Lord shared to them?" So I looked around and I can't see anybody. Nobody's moving. I'm thinking, okay, God, I know I didn't have pizza today. I hadn't had that in like 21 days. Can help me out, Lord? And I look, and I'm looking, and all of a sudden I see a little hand. It's one of our kids, one of our children. So I called him up. I said, "Come here." I leaned down. I said, Tell me what the Lord's speaking to your heart." So he told me. I said, "Do you want to share it? Do you want me to share it for you?" He said, "You share it." So I shared it. Everybody was there to know it was a word from the Lord. Because here's what he said. Now did you hear what I just preached on, right? Everybody hear what I just preached on, right? Except for the two of you that were asleep. Everybody else heard me, right? See if y'all are awake. So he comes up, and I'm standing about right here. He tells me, and this is what he says, and I'm going to paraphrase it. He said, "We have fellowship in our name, but we have to have fellowship with one another. It can't just be in our name. This is what the Lord's saying. It's got to be who we are." He said, fellowship is deeper. Fellowship is deeper than friendship. See, there's acquaintance, there's friendship, and then there's fellowship. I was blown away. Like, dude, you just preached my sermon on Sunday. Wow. So then I've been thinking about this over the last 3 or 4 days. And you know what I thought about? I thought about the movie Lord of the Rings, the book. Some of you have never read the book, but I've read most of the book. I got bogged down in the final. There's like three books. I got bogged down in the final because I saw the movie. Go figure. But I read the first 2 books and here's and seen the movies. And somebody going, "Pastor, you're talking about a movie." Listen, Tolkien is a believer. And if you don't see Sasha, help me out. Am I looking at allegory? Is that the right word? If you don't see what's happening and how it relates to Jesus and how it relates to the body of Christ in the movie, it's just like The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. Even though it's a fantasy novel or a fantasy movie, C.S. Lewis wrote it, where there was a type of Christ. It's amazing when you start looking at it through that. So I started thinking about The Lord of the Rings. The very first movie of that is called The Fellowship of the Ring. So what they did is there was a need for them to destroy this ring. So they created a fellowship. It was a company of people that were there for, get this, a common purpose and a common goal. One mission, one vision. They were to be in one accord. But over the course of the 3 books, the fellowship became 2 that finally entered Mordor to destroy the ring. Samwise and Frodo. Frodo and Sam. So Sam was there when Frodo was struggling because he was the ring bearer. He could only carry the ring. And Sam would pick him up and he would carry him when he couldn't go on anymore. He would comfort him when he was mourning the loss of what would be that ring. He would help him in times of trouble. And when the young man said the word fellowship, and I began to think about that over the last few days, I realized this, is that we are truly a fellowship because we have a common purpose and a common goal. But just like in that movie, not everybody may participate in the fellowship because it's a choice. It doesn't mean they won't come and be a part of us and sit in our services and worship. There are people that do that all the time. But what I'm saying to you is I believe God wants more. He wants us to have that connectivity. He wants us to have that Acts 2:42 fellowship. So when I grew up, the word fellowship to me, you know what it meant, Joe? It meant I was going to have some banana pudding. That's what it meant. Come on, somebody. We have fellowship, man. Rusty's going to get some banana pudding. That's what I'm talking about. We have fellowship. I was fixing to eat good. I mean, growing up, that's the way fellowship is. But that's really a infantile view of fellowship. Fellowship is more than a meal. Fellowship is about being a church family. It's about being a community of believers, one purpose, one vision. So if we're going to stay on the right track, then we have to protect that family. I said to Pastor Jimmy last Sunday at lunch, I said, tell me, this is twice you've been here now. I love you, you're my mentor. Tell me, what'd you think? He said this, I want you to know the spirit that I felt in that place. He said, it was great last time. He said, it was so much better this time. So what does that tell me? We're moving forward. We're still on the right track. He said people were loving. That's his words, not mine. That's not mine. I didn't put those words in his mouth. He said people were loving. They were caring. I love the community. I mean, he all those things that we've been saying that we want to be, the place of hope. And he's seeing it. People, when they come to me, they say, Pastor, this is a loving church. But we've got to protect that. Because what the enemy wants to do is he wants to derail us. So just because I'm preaching on this morning doesn't mean that, oh, we're bad and Pastor thinks we're awful. No, we're on the right track. But we got to protect that track. We got to protect that course of action that God says.